This is Super Cheap RC, and today I'm going to show you how to upgrade your WLTOYS 12428 horizontally mounted shocks to vertically mounted shocks that work a lot better without any aftermarket parts. Now, this is my brother's Feiyue FY-02, but the shock setup is exactly identical to the WLTOYS 12428, so I'm using it as an example of the default. See this? How it just kind of flops around? Well, the shocks aren't oil-filled, and they're horizontally mounted in a push-rod suspension type, which is okay for F1 cars, but when you have a cheap $70 off-road RC car with non-oil filled, kind of weak shocks, it makes for a pretty crappy suspension system. It doesn't really return after you push it down. It just stays up like that, even without a wheel on it. Now, that was a bit of a pain because it amounts for basically having no suspension up here once you get it pushed down. So what I did here is I took the suspension on here, just took it off the top and put it in a vertical position, and I will show you how to do that in this video. So you can see where I've mounted it, there's a bar here, okay? That is actually what pushes the suspension in here, okay? So what you need to do is you need to take these here, these screws on the top, unscrew those, unscrew this screw, and then you need to get rid of this whole joint here, okay? Then undo the little attachment point at the bottom, take this whole rod off, okay? Now, you need to save some parts from that, and I'll show you them later, okay? So, once you've taken those off, get the spring you want to attach. Now, just set it aside, okay? Because we're not going to put it on right away. See, in here, on the spring, there are some... My camera quality is messing up a bit. There are some metal pieces. I'll try to show you them on the WLTOYS 12428, and hopefully it'll focus better. Now, you can see them here on this attachment point. Alright, here we go. Yeah, okay. Alright, so you can see them right here. Right. There we go. There we go. Camera's back. Right here, okay? Little metal attachment points. Now, those actually are inside the connector rod. So what you need to do is when you take out these connector rods out, just pop out those two little metal pieces and save them aside. Now, you take your spring that you've taken off the top. Alright, take those two metal connectors and actually put them inside the spring. Now, you'll find that they fit perfectly, and that's because this rod here, it's actually the same dimensions as the spring, which is really good for what we're going to do. Alright, now that you've got those metal connectors in the spring, what you do is you slide the spring, the bottom of the spring, into the slot that the rod used to go on. So that's about right here, about 2/3 up the axle. Now, screw that in nice and tight. Now, under the hood, right where the body bar goes on, or on the WLTOYS 12428, the light bar, you take those screws off. Now, you put the spring on it. Now, what you do then is you take a little piece of plastic, put it on top of a screw, and the screw should look a bit like this. Decently long, but not super thick. You need to put like a plastic piece or something on the top to stop the shock from slipping off. And believe me, it works well. I've driven this already. Then put the plastic piece on the screw, then put the spring on the screw, and then you just screw it in there. Right there. So then, what you get is a pretty solid shock. It doesn't, flop around or stuff like other suspension mods I've seen on this car. And it works really, really well, actually. So, there's no, hang time when it's trying to push back up. There's no weak shocks. It's just 100% working and a really, really nice setup. And, if you want, you can even put the front panel back on. You just need a different place to put the lights, and it'll fit perfectly. You don't have to alter the body at all. That's how to replace the really bad horizontal shocks on the WLTOYS 12428 and convert them into vertical shocks. And that's another episode of Super Cheap RC. We'll see you later with more mods, tricks, and tests.